Hey, you've reached Under the Rock and I'm not available right now, so leave a message.
Hey Matt, it's Trevor. Just wondering why you haven't posted anything since March. And the stuff you have posted, it sounds like your mother wrote it. Anyway, get back to me when you get this. We're worried about you, man.
Matt, I think they're catching on to what you're doing.
Just 5 more minutes! Yeah, it's that addictive. Civilization 5, probably one of the most enthralling games I have ever played on my PC. When I first picked this game up, I said I was only going to play for 20 minutes just to get an idea of how the game operates and what it's like and get used to the controls. Well, after those 20 minutes, I discovered that I actually played the game for 4 hours straight. I've never lost my concept of time while playing a video game like that before. Usually I have a basic idea of how long I've been playing for, but no, I mean, seriously, 20 minutes is like 2 seconds when you're playing this game. It is ridiculous. And if you're a big fan of real-time strategies, games like SimCity and all that, this game is definitely one for you. Civilization 5 is a game where you play as a famous historical figure, each one representing a different country. You've got George Washington, Queen Elizabeth, Napoleon, Julius Caesar, Gandhi, Nobunaga, Attila the Hun, just to name a few. And your goal in this game is to lead your people and develop a small country and society that will stand the test of time. And you can do this in a multiple of different ways. You can either do it culturally, just building such a culturally rich society that in essence you turn your civilization into a utopia that everyone will want to be a part of and remember for as long as there are people on the planet. You can do it by conquering every nation, wiping everyone else and making your society the only one existent on the world. You can do it by being friends with everyone, getting every single country at one time or within a period, close to a period of time between each to declare friendship with you with the world and become everybody's buddy. You can also do it technologically, which is you develop such an immense amount of technology that you are able to be the first ones to reach the moon. And once you've completed one of these game objectives, you are not forced to start the game over again. You can actually click a button that says, no, just a few more turns, and you can continue on to try and do a different goal. That way you can get multiple endings in one game session without having to start over every single time, which is really great. And what's also nice about this story is it's very simple and laid back. There's no major villain or plot elements you have to remember, no missions to keep track of. You can play the game how you see it in your own way on your own time, which is really great. In essence, it's basically a video game board game that's one player, which is awesome, especially if you just want to lay back, not think of anything, and just play a casual, fun game. The game is set up on a hexagon game board, and you have 1 turn per round to do all the different tasks that you wish to achieve in that turn. Once you're done, all the other players get their turn to move and do whatever they wish. Thankfully, when it comes to the computer, all the computer players go at the same time, so you're not waiting for all of them to go, which is really good if you're playing with like 15 different characters. And each round you develop gold, culture, science, and this is all determined by different factors in your city. If you build a lot of buildings, that's going to take away your gold because you have to maintain them, but if you have like trading posts and farms out there, that will help bring in an income for the city. If you have a lot of art and theaters and heavy culture-based buildings, you'll get a lot of culture to help adapt new policies, which can then affect, how well you're good at negotiating with other countries, or how good you are at in combat, depending on what kind of policies you wish to take. There's also science, which is affected by how many educational buildings you have, which helps you develop new technologies to move your city forward into the next age in the game. You could also, at cities, build different units, and you also have production. Production rate determines how fast it takes you to build different units and buildings and such. In the game, you have a multiple variety of units, each serving their own purpose to help benefit your cities and your nation. There are workers, which are there to build plantations, farms, and mines to allow you to harvest resources, or roads to connect all your cities together. There are settlers, which you sent out to build new cities to help expand your nation and your influence over the land. And then there's, of course, your army units, which are close combat guys, range combat guys, naval combat guys, and aerial combat guys. And then there are scouts, which are used to move across the land unhindered by terrain effects and help you get an idea of where everyone is and how the world's shaped out. Throughout the map, there are also tons of different resources, each holding their own benefits. There's ones that generate more food, there's some that generate more gold and culture, there's some that are just luxury items which are used to trade with other nations, that way you can build relations with them better. There's also ones that help build other arm units, like there's oil, there's uranium, and there's aluminum. Each of these are randomly scattered throughout the land, and sometimes this can either make or break your standing in the game and can affect how your gameplay goes. If you realize that there's not enough of the resources that build units, you're probably going to hold off on building an army-based nation and work more on culture. If you don't have a lot of the luxury items, you're probably not going to try and be friends with everybody and focus more on trying to take over each other. Visually, the game is stunning, using the just right amount of detail so you can pick out all the different environments on the map that you're seeing, from the deserts to the jungle to the forests, down to the different types of different resources out there. And also with the water effects are also breathtaking to look at, giving you a really nice display piece to look at while you're staring at the same screen for hours on end. And sound-wise, the game doesn't hold anything back. Each nation has its own unique soundtrack, each heavily influenced by the nation's culture and upbringing that we know of. So it gives you this beautiful soundtrack to listen to that never seems overplayed, and you never get sick of listening to it. It kind of reminds me of some of those easy to listen to CDs you can sometimes buy at the retail stores to help you relax. Now, I would be lying if I said the game was flawless. When in single player, the game seems to be completely flawless without any major issues to really nitpick and ruin the experience of the game. But that completely changes when we go into multiplayer. The two biggest gripes that everyone seems to have with this game is, one, there's no way to save the game at all. It does auto-save your game, but it's really hard to keep track that it's auto-saving because it really doesn't say, like saving or anything on the screen. And the problem with this is if you do something, if it autosaves and then you continue forward but then stop before it does its next autosave, you're forced to play from the same spot again, which could put you at a disadvantage since the other player may remember what you did last time and prepare for that this time around. So that's probably the biggest issue with that one. The other one is the lack of animations in multiplayer. When you're moving around your workers or your dudes and they're just moving from place to place, this isn't a big issue. But when you start getting into combat with other players, this becomes a problem because sometimes it's hard to keep track of who won because all happens is the characters just stand there and then things disappear and numbers fly up, and it can be really confusing as to what's going on. Out of everything, this was the only two major issues everybody had with multiplayer, and I personally do agree. It's one of the biggest issues with it, and it really hurts the game in that front. It makes it a great single-player game and a okay multiplayer game. Replayability is extremely high with this game, and it's not just because that there's so many different characters to play, which gives you different gaming options or different ways to win, so to play out different scenarios. It's just such an addictive game that once you start playing, you can't stop. Every time I try and go and play a different game, I end up stopping halfway through and then going back and playing more Civilization 5. It's once you get going, you just can't stop with this game. Overall, I give Civilization 5 for the PC a solid 9 out of 10. This game is fun! It's one of the most fun I've had on the PC in a long time. It's simple to learn, there's multiple characters resulting in multiple different ways of playing the game, with the multiple endings gives you a different way of playing each scenario, which allows you to have a different experience each time. Graphically, it's beautiful to look at. Audio-wise, provides a great soundtrack to listen to while you're playing the game, and just the sheer addictive factor of this game will make you clock in months of gaming time in this game. The only thing that holds it back is the multiplayer. Because of those shortcomings, it prevents this game from being a perfect game. So you're most likely going to be playing this a lot on single player, unless you have a friend and are willing to deal with multiplayer shortcomings. You can still buy this game at your local retail stores or on Steam. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time under the rock.